For today's review, we are looking at the Jakks Pacific Super Shadow figure from the Sonic 3 movie. And before I talk about the figure, let's take a quick look at the packaging that he comes in. And of course, it is the same packaging style. I did keep the card back. And as you can see for the front side of the card, you do have your cast of characters from this movie. On the back side, you do have an image of the action figure in some sort of pose. And up top, you do have your read-up. It reads, Super Shadow is the unstoppable form of the ultimate life form. His speed and strength is devastating as he harnesses the limitless power of the Mastered Emerald. Pretty cool. Down here it does say 22 points of articulation, and on the bottom you do have the collect them all, showing the lineup of figures that are in this wave, such as Super Sonic. And for me, I still need Sonic and Shadow in their base forms. I've seen them more commonly than Knuckles. For some reason, this guy is very hard to find. So yeah, there's that whole thing. And that is the packaging for this figure. And now, let's talk about the figure itself. Just like Super Sonic, this of course is a re-release of the Super form without the light up gimmick. So if you did not want to buy the 2-pack and you wanted the versions of them without the whole light up gimmick feature, this is the way to do so. And honestly, this is actually a pretty cool release because this gives people another opportunity to get the super forms if they missed out on that 2-pack. Because I know that 2-pack sold out like crazy, but recently I have seen more stock of it, so it's more accessible. Now, in terms of their individual releases, these have been quite rare for me to run into. So just like what I said in my Super Sonic review, I got really lucky just finding these, like, I guess randomly in my toy hunts, because I wasn't really intentionally looking for them because I did not think I would ever find them because the super forms are so sought after, but there they were, finding them 1 month apart from each other. So that is very lucky. Okay, let's talk about the aesthetics of this figure now. Let's start with the most obvious thing. His yellow is very different, as you can see. It's more of this sort of, how would I describe this? Like a tannish yellow color? Is that the best way to describe this yellow? Do correct me in the comments below. But I do like the fact that it's different. So you have this distinguished differences between the two characters when they're in their super forms, right? And also, I like the fact that the red parts are part of the super form as well. It gives this sort of nice contrast with the colors here. So I do like that there's a lot of the red streaks on the design of this form. As you can see, there's more there. And also on his arms for both sides and down here by his legs. So that's pretty cool. And in terms of the sculpting of his eyes, you do have the same sort of sculpting method. Now, I'm not sure how they do the eyes. Is it like a printed thing inside and then they just add this layer of plastic over it to give it the dimensions? But nevertheless, I like the way that they do the eyes for these figures, because having that sort of dimension gives the eyes more of a, realistic sort of look to it, kind of, than leaving it flat. And as you can see, there is that red outline there for his eyes as well, with the sides of his eyelid. So that's pretty cool. And for his torso, you do have the sculpted fur right here, which is different from what you see on Super Sonic. And then for his gloves, he does have something going on here that's pretty cool. So as you can see, the gloves are white, but he does have this golden ring with this sort of like black and red sort of thing that connects to his gloves or his hands, whatever you want to call these. Actually, I'm gonna be honest, I still call these gloves. I know they look like this in all their designs, but, are they gloves or are they just part of their hands? Like, someone please explain this to me, because till this day, I don't actually know the logic behind why they wear gloves. So, yeah, I'm going to be honest about that, all right? So, okay. And then you can see that this same design right here goes down to his shoes. So there's that whole thing. And speaking of his shoes, he has the coolest looking shoes, in my opinion. Like, these shoes look really freaking cool. I wish they were real. As I mentioned in the last review, there is that whole Puma X, Sonic collaboration going on with the shoe stuff. It would have been cool if they made these into actual real shoes that you can either wear or just have displayed. It sucks that the shoes don't look like this. And speaking of the bottom of the shoes, look at those thrusters. Like, I don't know what he does with these shoes. can he fly with them or something? I'm not too sure. I mean, in the movie, he can already like jump so high up without even having to use the thrusters, right? So, but they are a pretty cool aesthetic sort of choice for shoes, so I do like that. And yeah, those are some clean shoes, man. They look really dope. Better than the ones that Sonic are wearing, where they look like regular sneakers. He got the cool stuff, so yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much most of the aesthetics of this figure. You know, most of the fur texture for the yellow, it's the same thing like what you see on Supersonic. I think Jakks Pacific did a pretty solid job here for this figure, and of course the other ones, because, you know, with what they had to work with using plastic molding, this is pretty good for a $15 figure. So, yeah. And that's going to cover for the aesthetics portion of this figure. Now, let's talk about the articulation of the figure. So, just like Supersonic, the articulation is pretty much the same. So, his head sculpt, he can look up. Not exactly the best, but, you know, he can do that. Looking down, well, his bottom of his chin is going to run into the top part of his torso, so he's not going to look down that much. Turning his head left and right, no problem. Tilting his head side to side, pretty good. So in terms of the articulation for the head sculpt, it's pretty decent. For his arms, he can spread them up this high up. Not too bad. He can swing them back and forth, which I did not show with Supersonic, so he can do that. He does have a butterfly joint here, but it doesn't really work as a butterfly joint exactly. It just feels like it's there to fill in the gap. He does have a bicep cut up here. As you can see, it does rotate. And for his joint down here, it's a single jointed, but it bends more than 90 degrees, so that's not too bad. And also, there is a swivel with this joint as well if you want to move it. It does rotate. And for his hands, he does have swivel. He does have the articulation right there, the hinge, so he can bend his hand out like this, like he's going to stop somebody. You know, you can do that sort of pose. It doesn't look that great when his fingers are articulated like that, so... But yeah, there's articulation with the fingers. And in terms of the torso, he does have a rotation right here. It moves, but when it comes to like leaning forward and leaning back, you're not going to get much out of the torso because it wasn't really sculpted the best way for that sort of movement. But with rotation, he can rotate his stomach area right here, right? So it does move if you need it to. Now, for my copy of the figure, his legs do not kick out. It's not because they can't kick out. It's because for some reason, maybe the figure is way too new and then the joints are way too tight. So I don't want to force his legs to kick out, but they should be able to kick out because as you can see, with Supersonic, his legs kick out with no problem, right? So it's probably just like a QC issue with my copy, which is quite unfortunate. So I think I can fix it with like a hairdryer, but it feels very fragile, so I don't want to do that. But yeah, it's not going to kick out, but as you can see, it kicks out a little bit, right? So I do not want to force that. Now, doing the splits, that's not a problem. And he does have die cuts right up here. As you can see, they do move. He does have a single jointed that can bend all the way more than 90. And there is a little bit of rotation right there as well. And for the bottom of his feet, he does have articulation right there and swivel, so you can rock them side to side. And that is pretty much all the articulation for Super Shadow. Pretty decent. You can get him into some action poses. And yeah, okay. Let me get this guy set up so we can do some comparisons with some other figures. And here he is, next to the SH Figuarts Ichigo Kurosaki Dual Zangetsu form. And as you can see, he is shorter than Ichigo in terms of scale. And up next, here he is next to a Marvel Legends Wolverine figure from the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. And yeah, he is taller than Super Shadow. And now, let's bring in a DC Multiverse figure that I have handy, because this is the only one I have out right now, Mr. Doomsday. And as you can see, it doesn't even fit in frame. So, there he is next to a Megafig, for anyone who's curious. And of course, a Megafig is taller than him. Alright, now let's bring in a Transformer. Here he is next to the War for Cybertron Starscream. So yeah, Starscream is taller than him. And here he is next to the Optimus Primal from the Kingdom line. Pretty cool. And now it's time for the final comparison. Here he is next to Supersonic. And I think they did a really good job with these two figures. Like, just having the two of them together, they look really good. And especially if you're going to have them displayed like they're fighting each other, that's going to be really cool as well. Now, the unfortunate thing is that they don't come with any effect parts. So if you are trying to make it look like they're fighting at a super fast speed, you might have to find some lightning accessories that you may have laying around to recreate that sort of thing. Luckily, I do have some, but I don't know if they will work. I'm going to have to get creative. But yeah, for $15 figures, these are not bad. I am really happy that I was able to find them 1 month apart from each other, which was really random. And for some reason, these two forms are quite uncommon. And it makes sense because they are their super forms. So yeah, if you are trying to find these figures at the store, I do wish you the best of luck in your toy hunt. So yeah. And with that said, if you found today's review of Super Shadow informative, do give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do on here, it would be much appreciated. And with that said, take care and I will see you in the next video.